I think teaching was my line. Practice and theory, I came very high in the
So
whole
did
island of Grenada. That died, my mother used to cook food and take down to town in Hillsborough, pea soup, dumplings, cassava, potatoes, and lunchtime, we didn't go buying things. We ate our food.
what's your name
Kathleen Cox.
and where are you from?
I'm from Carriacou, dependency of Grenada in the Caribbean.
Whereabouts in Carriacou were you born?
Belvedere.
So tell me about your parents. What did they do? Who were they? What were their names?
My dad, Nathaniel Dingwall, he died in his late 40s. He was a carpenter. He started building bungalows and so on in Belvedere, in Carriacou as a whole. But unfortunately, he died young. My mother was a Dinah Dingwall, and she was a teacher before she got married and all that.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Do you know anything about your grandparents?
I didn't know my grandparents, but I heard of my grandparents.
Who were
I never played with them. They all died before. Died young, I suppose. Yes.
what were their names?
I can't remember. I know aunties like Sarah and Rhoda and Popo, yeah, and so on. But I can't remember my grandparents' names because they were never a part of me growing up.
Did you have any siblings?
I had, well, it was five of us. It was Verna, Jacqueline, which we call Weena, Donald, Gertrude, and myself. And it's just myself and Donald are left. Gertrude died last year. Yeah. So so yes, it's just both of us now.
So were you the oldest? Where did you sit with age of your
Pardon?
siblings? Were you the oldest sibling, or were you the youngest? Were you in the middle?
I'm the last.
You're the last
I'm
one.
the last. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Donald was so the third.
Oh, wow. So tell me about your childhood in Carriacou. What was your childhood like? Did you enjoy school? Did you enjoy home life? What did you?
Hmm. Well, I had a good home life in Carriacou. Um, School was the main thing. I was a girl guide, and remember school days were very, very enjoyable. Remember the games we used to play, marbles and stones and rounders and relay and all that. And going home, the boys would climb the tamarind trees and pick tamarind for us girls, and mangoes. They didn't even It didn't matter whose trees it was. So mangoes were there. They climbed and picked. Yeah, and we enjoyed it. We walked to school. We walked home. I walked with Sydney Cudjoe, go home for lunch when we started teaching. Um, and we started teaching at a very young age.
how old were you when you started teaching?
Um, 16. I sat the first year pupil teachers exam, got through, and started teaching at 16.
Why was it so early? Was that normal back then?
That was normal then. That was normal then. Yeah, 16, and then that's what. Then I sat many other exams. I sat the first year pupil teacher, that was age 16. Then the second year, the third year. When I did the third year pupil teachers exam, I came first in the whole island of Grenada. Felt very proud. Then I sat the Cambridge senior school exam. So the questions were from here, this country, and the grades were first, second, and third grade. Um, I had a second grade. My my headmaster was very proud. He, he gave the school a half-day holiday.
Oh wow!
I remember that. Then I went on to sit the teacher's exam, which is in practice and theory, and I came first in the theory. I remember when the inspector of schools came to listen to me teach a class of 20 something, going on 30 children. And he didn't tell me he was coming. My headmaster didn't know he was coming. And it was break time, that the children were in the playground playing, and then the headmaster just came and said to me, "Could you round up your class? You're going to be, the inspector of schools has come to hear you, listen to you teach." But I was no fool. I knew when he came, I knew what I'm going to teach. And I decided to teach the circulation of the blood to my children, to my class, the auricles and the ventricles and whatnot. So he sat right at the back staring at me. And I taught. Then I asked questions just to make sure that they quite understood. They were so good. They answered every question. And I got 88% in that. And so in theory, yes.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So did you always want to be a teacher?
Well, I don't. My sister was working in a shop in town. I didn't want that. I think teaching was my line, and I mean, this is not a boast, but I mean, every class I went to, I came first in exams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a natural progression to teaching.
Oh gosh. So tell me a bit more about your life at home.
Well, there wasn't much. I mean, I was a very timid person. I was scared of the dark. I remember I was practicing for a concert. We were practicing for a concert in the Dover Model School, and my sister and I and other people from Belvedere coming home after practice, and she was in front with two other people. I was way behind with other people, and then when they left and took a path to go to their place, I was left alone in the dark, and I started screaming. My mother heard me screaming. I was just about 100 yards from home, screaming and running because my sister was already home that time. So she was chastised for leaving me behind. She was so sad. I'm afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of old. We were afraid of old mass. You know, when I think carnival time. I think in Trinidad they had carnival March, April. In Grenada or in Carriacou, it was around August, and it took two forms. You had old mass where people blacked up their faces.
Oh, like Jub Jub.
Yeah,
Yes.
and come and knock on your door and frighten you and thing. I was so scared. I was really scared of that. And the other part of it is on the Tuesday they go down to town to play carnival. You know, they learn speeches, Shakespeare, things like and they repeat the speeches. So they had the people from Leicester and Belmont against the people from Dover and Windward and Belvedere, and they said speeches, and I come to bury friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your heirs. I come to bury Caesar, not to praise him. And they knew the speeches. I love that. And my father died, my mother used to cook food and take down to town in Hillsborough, pea soup, dumplings, cassava, potatoes, and lunchtime we didn't go buying things. We ate our food. She had a friend there, and I remember those things. Those are good days.
So did your family have like some land where you did any farming or keep animals or anything?
We had land in Limleh and around our house in Belvedere. So we planted cotton as the usual crop, and corn and peas. So, and we reared animals, goats and sheep. We had a cow, so we got milk. We had pigs, so we got pork, and that's what the food: cuckoo and okra, peas, dumpling, cassava. Just a normal thing.
So who taught you how to cook?
Well, I just saw my mother cook, and I cooked. But I remember one day, and we cooked. The kitchen was separate from the house, and my father was a carpenter, so it was a wall kitchen with a little room um, to take the pot into the little room and serve the food. And I was left on my own to cook. So I cooked this huge pot of pea soup and dumpling. And then the sharing time came. And I lifted it to go to the other room. And you had to step a step up to the small room. Good area. Dishes were already there for me to serve and call them. And I fell with this pot of peas and
Oh no.
so all my mother wanted to know if I was well, if I was okay.
Yeah.
But the rest of them, they gave me hell. Yeah, but yeah, my mother did that, and when you just learn to cook. You see your parents cook all the time. Turn the cuckoo, and I loved cuckoo with milk, and fried cuckoo. Oh, it's nice. You just get used to the kind of food that your parents grew, and nice and fresh. Cassava, potatoes, sweet potatoes, lovely.
What about your community? Was it a tight? Was it was it an actual close knit community you lived in? Did your neighbours? Did everybody get on, support
Yes,
each other? Or
yes. Everybody. I mean, Tan Rosie was opposite. Then I had an aunt not far away. Two aunts actually, not far away. The children, we played together. And we even flew kites on theirs today. Easter Monday, you know. We flew kites and we going on Miss Rosie Hill. They were from Tan Rosie Hill. They could stay up there and fly the kites. Monica would remember that. Yeah, yeah.
my dad talked about that,
Hmm?
making this big kite.
Yeah.
Decking.
Oh yes, they make the kites and fly and thing. And I mean, it doesn't matter. You're a girl. You do what the boys do. You go play with the boys and see them fly kites, and yeah.
So it was a different life, wasn't it? Really. So
It is a different light. It was a different light. I mean, we weren't rich, but we weren't that poor. We ate, we drank, and yeah, and they had things as Saraca. Have you heard of Saraca?
yeah, but talk to me about Saraca.
I think Saraca is when people want to remember their dead relatives, and his old wives tale. They cook food for the dead relatives, and that's thing. Back from Africa, and so they'll cook a lot of food, cuckoo, peas, potatoes, all sorts of food, and then they'll put a selection of the food on a table, white tablecloth, big table, and I think children used to take up the food, and you go in a row and you put this food on the table, and it is left there overnight. And in the morning, the children were there, and the older people cut up this food, and the children were there sometimes with the plates or whatever, the hands, aprons or whatever, and they give the children the food and thing. That's a really good custom for children. We used to like that.
My uncle called it grappe. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
they call it grappe. Yeah.
But he said that the kids would just be let off.
Sometimes they put some on. Yes, and yeah, and if you're a strong kid, then you get the best of it.
My uncle said he choked on a potato. He nearly choked on a potato.
Well, the potatoes we used to have in the Caribbean were really nice potatoes. Some of them with red skin and thing, and yeah, you could get choked on a potato.
I think because he was eating too fast. That was why he nearly choked.
Yes, and you take too big a chunk, so it gets stuck in your thing. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So did you have a nice community of friends that you grew up with?
Yeah, well, I had school friends, and I had friends in other places. I had friends in Six Roads. We used to visit people in Six Roads. Mount Desire. I don't know if you ever heard of Mount Desire. It's a little place. We had friends in Mount Royal, Top Hill. We had friends everywhere. My mother had friends everywhere, and they had children, so we had friends. And it was good. I mean, and we played. I mean, when we were children at school, we had a lot of games. We had marbles and stones and rounders. Yeah, we enjoyed ourselves with what we had, and made the best of it. It is what it is. You grow up, and these are the things you know, so you enjoy.
Yes. So tell me about Tan Rosie then. What can you tell me about her? What was she like?
Well, Tan Rosie was a very nice woman. I could see her now. She had good height.
Was she?
Tan Rosie had good height. Yeah. And I mean, herself and my mother, good friends and thing. And I remember Margaret and Julia and there was Foster and Webb, all these people. I remember them when we were growing up. We used to go there and play, and Samuel and what's the other one name?
Henry?
There were two of them.
Samuel and Charles, the twins.
Samuel and Charles sometimes used to come home when they were little. I mean, little boys, and they were play and they play and thing. And this time, if I'm cooking, if one of us is cooking, well, me cooking, just about the time when I'm ready to serve food, one would tell the other, "Samuel, go home." And I thought, why is he telling them? And then I realized if Samuel goes home, he'll get more.
Oh.
Smart children. Yeah. Yeah. But life in Carriacou was okay.
And did your family travel to like Petit Martinique, Grenada, or any neighbouring islands at all at that stage?
We traveled to Grenada. I traveled to Trinidad as well. My elder sister lived there for quite a few years. So I am in Barataria. Yes, in Trinidad we had I remember attending the Indian Carnival in St. James. Very nice thing. And I have relatives in Trinidad. I had relatives in Trinidad. I had two aunts, Queen, and another one in Trinidad. So yes, my sister lived there, and I like Trinidad. It was more advanced than Carriacou and Poli Carriacou and thing, so it was a lot to see and enjoy.
So when did you come over to England?
I came over to England well, my father died, and then my mother died. So I was all alone. I was teaching.
What year was this?
Huh?
What year did both parents?
My father died I can't remember the year now. He was only 47 when he died. And my mother died in 1964. I remember I was teaching, and at one point I was acting head. I acted as head of Dover Model School for 3 months until and then my mother died, and then my siblings here wanted me to come over. So I came over, and I remember I wasn't sure whether I would like this place. So although they paid for my passage to go, I also paid for myself a return passage. But I came here, and they encouraged me to stay. So I started working, and I got my money back.
Yes. So how long were your siblings in the UK before you? What difference in time?
Well, when this immigration started and all that, my brother was in Trinidad and he came back here and then came back. So they were here just a few years before, not too long. Can't remember exactly how long, but my sister came. My brother came first, and then my sister came, and then my other sister came. So yes, and I was left with my mother.
Yeah.
So, and when my mother died, then they all wanted me to come.
And so where were your siblings living at this point?
They were living in, my brother had a house in Ladbroke Grove, so they were living there. And when I came, I also went to Ladbroke Grove because he had a very big house.
So he was able to get a house. How quickly was he able to get
Yeah, I think he paid about £3,000 for that house, he said.
Wow.
And many rooms. I mean, he and his, he was married, so they didn't have all the children yet, but he was married and they lived there. And then my sister lived in one room. I remember when I came, and I stayed with her.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to see that we have to stay in one room. You know, there was a little kitchen, but there was just one room. She had a little television there, and she had a bed there, and then the cupboard there with her food. And I thought the cupboard was the door to another room. And when I opened it, I was shocked. But that is how it was those days.
Yeah.
You know, that is how it was. So I started work, and then well, my husband and I knew each other. He was teaching home.
So what work were you doing when you? What did you do?
Yeah.
Work? Yeah, your first job.
Oh, I came here, and so when they told me that, I mean, I didn't want to stay, but they actually said to me, "What are you going home? You alone? We're all here and whatnot." So I decided to stay. Then I decided to look for a job. So I looked for, there was one job being advertised in one of the newspapers for an overseas telegraph operator. And I thought, why not? So I went somewhere in Houston, and there were 3 of us there. Talk about diversity. It was an Indian man, me, and a white girl. So they called us the first thing they called us for a test. So, I mean, I just came from teaching, coming first in the island of Grenada and thing. That was nothing. I finished it in no time. So we came back and sat down. Then they called the Indian man, and he came back and he did that. And he went out. Then they called the white girl, and she came back and said, "I wish you luck." And she went out.
Wow.
Then they called me and they said, "Now, Miss Dingwall," because my surname then was Dingwall. I wasn't married yet. You're pleased to say you got through, and well, and whatnot. We just want to ask you a few questions. And they asked me things like, name me a town in France. I don't know when Nice comes up, but I said Nice, and that was right. What is the capital of the United States? I said, Washington, D.C. And I said, right. And then, right, you just have one more thing to do. You have to do a typing test. I said, but your advertisement didn't say anything about typing. And it so happened that just before I left home, I started to learn to type. And I got us ASDFG semicolon LKJH. That's all I knew in typing. So I told them I couldn't type. They said, go and try. And they went to this big black typewriter. I could see it now. And I pressed and the key stuck. And I just thought, this is nonsense. So I went back and told them I can't type. So they said, when we get people who could do the test, they can type, and vice versa. We'll do you a deal. Go and take a 3-month course in typing. Come back, the job is yours.
Wow.
But I had applied to the savings bank as well. The National Savings Bank, 375 High Street, Kensington. So they called me for a test as well. And I went there. And there's a sea of people. There was one African man and me, the rest are white people. So they gave me a sheet of paper and it had everything, maths, English, everything on a couple of sheets of paper. So I did that and I finished very quickly. And I put it down and the woman in charge, she came to me and she said, what's the matter, love? Can't you do it? I said, I'm finished. Finish! So she took the paper and she looked at it and then she called me. She said, why are you applying for a temporary job? Because that's what I did. Why are you applying for a temporary job? It's people like you we need, you know? Wow. So then I decided to stay. That's when I decided to stay. Mm-hmm. So I got a permanent job until I'm married, and I didn't take maternity leave. I sort of married and stay home, have children, and then started again. And this time I started at the Department of Health and Social Security, not the savings bank. And I reached the post of assistant manager. I acted up for 3 weeks as a manager for 300 staff. And then I was sent on secondment. Also was there to a firm in Hammersmith called Hammersmith and Fulham Business Resources. And I set up a women's business forum for women, because I thought that women in business were not getting a fair deal, and I read about all that in the papers and so on. So I set up this women business forum, and we launched in the Ark in Hammersmith. The press was there, my name was in the papers, and I was going through the thing there recently, and I said, "Oh, I did all that." Yeah. Wow. So yeah, that was that, and yeah, and then I was there for a long time, and like I said, I was an assistant manager. And then the time came, I just, when I was 58, I took early leave, early retirement.
So what was life like as a black woman back then, achieving all these quite...
I don't care what people say about me behind my back, as long as I've been here. But I was never faced with racism, you know? And I had good staff. The people I was manager of were graduates, people from university and all that. And I had very good staff. And they didn't get away with any nonsense, They know me. And then I had staff coming to me. I had an Indian girl coming to me and said, Kathy, can I ask you something? Yes, Shukla. Kathy, don't send me from your section. I said, no, Shukla, I wouldn't do that. She was a clerical assistant. I had clerical assistants saying to me, you are the only assistant manager who talks to us. They were doing filing and things like that. And I said, let me tell you something. If you don't open the post at mornings. If you don't file these files correctly, the rest of us will be there just twiddling our thumbs. So your job is just as important as our job. You know, and you know, and they all love me. I don't know, because I don't see myself as heighty tighty. I'm up there. I'm big. No, no, no. Staff is staff. You know. Mm-hmm.
Amazing, amazing. So when was the first time you went back to Carriacou after living in England?
I can't remember when was the first time, but I went back twice. The second time was 2016. Yeah, and it was not the same. I stayed mostly in Grenada because after that time our house was sold and all that. But I did go up to Carriacou and saw lots of people and those who were alive and things. But by that time, lots of people died and so on. Yeah. I saw in Grenada. I saw my headmaster, Mr. Brothrit. Both of them, Nicholas and Godwin. And I remember going to see Nicholas, and they were chatting and we were talking about traveling. And I said, well, I went to China. I said, China? I said, yes. We walked on the Great Wall of China, myself and my husband. We went lots of places. I went to Kenya with my last son, and it was very nice. Kenya is a beautiful place. And we were the only black people in the group. I went with a group of English people. And when you go to a nice restaurant, I mean, they serve you with chilled orange juice, fresh orange juice. And when one of the servers saw myself and my son, he said, I'll give you a nice room. And we had an English couple, white couple, with us, the four of us going together. And when we went and saw it, it was a suite. And I remember saying, Kathy, is this for us? He really, because I mean, and then I danced with the Kikuyu tribe, and because we were all there looking at this dance, and they pull me in the ring. It's all in those thing there, and pull me to, because it's nice to see black people,
Yes.
and they'll come and say, one of them said to me and my son in Kenya, which part of Africa are you from? I say, well, my four parents are from Africa, but I am from the Caribbean, but now I live in London. You've never been to Africa before? I said, no. Welcome home. Yeah. And these things, you don't forget these things, Yeah.
So were you told about your African heritage in Carriacou by any parents or grandparents? Did they talk about any African customs? Or I know you mentioned Saraca.
I can't remember them telling us much about Africans, the African thing. I mean, I read books and so on, but Mommy didn't sit down and say, well, this is what. I mean, I don't know if she was told by her parents or what, but I read a lot of books, so I know all about Africa and all that. And when I came here, I had two African friends, really nice. Right now I have a friend from Ghana, and she want to invite me to Ghana and all that. I'm too old to travel.
No.
So
as a child, go back to when you were a child, what were you told? What were you not allowed to do? Was there anything that they restricted you on when you were growing up?
I don't think so. We were not allowed to stay out too late. But then who would want to stay out late in the dark or anything? I mean, even things as dances and little thing. We all went out with friends and so on, and yeah, and we did the things. I was confirmed in the Anglican Church, and I went to friends' places. We had lots of friends in Carriacou, as teachers. Sometimes we met and so on, I went to people in we had friends in Harvey Vale, and no, there was not much restriction.
So when you were growing up, were you told any Anacy stories or any kind of folklore stories at all growing up, or did you hear of any when you were growing up from other people?
Well, I think people talk about all sorts of things, but it's usually about Jumbie, and this going to happen, and and about the grave. People were scared to go by the grave,
Why is that?
I don't know, but I mean things like that they talk about. But I wasn't the sort of person to be out at late at night thing, unless you're there for a purpose. Like I said, when I was had a concert and you practice and you're coming home and all that. But otherwise, you don't go out because unless it's moonlight, because we didn't have street lights,
Yeah.
and so on. So you don't want to out in the dark.
Yeah, I think that's what we can't understand that because there's street lights everywhere.
Well, exactly.
But
there is in the dark, yeah.
Really
but moonlight is really nice,
Interesting. So you were scared. You said you were scared of the dark. So you'd obviously heard things that scared you.
Well, yes, they did talk about jobless and that, and women walking with one foot and things that But I mean, I think just as I say, Brer and Nancy story. I mean, we don't believe those things, but still, when you are young, you get scared, Wow. I think up to the age of about 12, 14, I believe all that. But after that, I didn't believe anything.
So your elders warned you about certain things that they warned you not to do things or about certain things.
I can't remember my mother, my dad died early, telling me anything about that. It's just talking with people your own age or But I can't remember any grown ups telling me about these things.
So fun about culture. So you talked about the food pretty much got you growing up. So everyone's kind of got the same thing that they love: pea soup and dumplings. That was the main dish that a lot of people.
And we kill our own animals. I mean, yes. we had cows and sheep, and goats, pigs, and the corn, the pork, salted pork, and that is so tasty.
So did you have a hand in actually preparing all?
Oh yes, and we killed chickens. I remember he's home now, Kelvin Bob. After Mommy died, he used to sort of stay with me. I mean, sometimes he when Mommy was around, he used to carry my food for and then Mommy died, and this woman in Dover, Joan Cox, said she'll cook for me lunch. So Kelvin used to take my lunch and take it to school. And once I was going to church on a Sunday, and I said, Kelvin, kill that chicken. When I come back, I'll cook. So when I came back, the chicken was still jumping. I said, Kelvin, I said, kill the chicken. Look at it. Teacher Kathleen, kill it, but you didn't dead good. I said, but you didn't kill it. Things like that you don't forget.
Yeah.
I said, but you didn't kill it. Yes, I killed it, but it didn't dead good. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. So yes, I had a girl from Grenada. I knew her parents, and she came up and spent time with me, helping to do things around the house. Yeah, people just help each other. But I was used to being on my own until my siblings thought I should come up.
Nice. It's nice you had that support of your siblings when they came. Yeah, it's amazing. So, what would you want someone visiting Carriacou to experience that haven't been before?
I don't know if they still do Saraca, but that's something really, going back to the ages. That's something the good thing. It's eating, it's drinking, it's playing music and thing. And what else happens in Carriacou? The carnival, but above all, Carriacou food. You know, the food there.
So why is Carriacou so special to you?
Because I was born there. No, you never forget the place where you grew up and go to school. I don't care who you are. You do not forget the good, the bad, everything. That's my island, Carriacou. Not even Grenada proper, Carriacou. I love it. But now I mean, I might even know it with Beryl, the storm Beryl, with all these things happening there. I mean, I watched when Beryl, this was 2 years ago, when Beryl came, and I watched Dover Model School on the television, and I could see Dover Model School flat with a red galvanized, and tears are running down my eyes. And I'm thinking, that's where I learned what I learned. That's where I had my first job, you know. And look at it.
So do you remember Hurricane Janet? Were you
I
there?
remember Hurricane Janet. Can't remember how old, but I remember Hurricane Janet. I remember we had a well, Monica, you knew our house, and my father built our house, and we had 2 bedrooms, 2 big bedrooms. So we went into one of the bedrooms, and there's a downstairs, a wall downstairs. The house was wooden, but the downstairs was an open area and then a wall room. And my aunt Becca um, came up to us because I was teaching, and we were sent home. Everybody was sent home early because they expected a storm, right? And 1 or 2 people came to our house because they think it's strong. But Janet was a terrible hurricane. So we went into 1 bedroom and we jumped down to go underneath into the wall area. And there were quite a few people from, you remember Henrietta Bob? She came down as well. And I think Mommy gave her a dressing gown, and for days after she was up and down the road with Mommy's dressing gown. Yeah, I think. And my aunt, she didn't want to jump. And she said to my mother, which is her last sister, her name was Leonora, but they call her Nora, teacher Nora. Nora, I tell you not to jump. The God of Abraham will protect us. But when the next wind force came, and if you see her jump, she jumped because she had to jump. Yeah. I could always remember that. Hurricanes are terrible. Hurricanes are terrible.
So how devastated was Carriacou? What was the devastation like?
You see houses with the roofs gone. I think we had some of our roofing gone. That's about it. House was okay, but some of the roofing gone. And you see houses turned the other way, you know. It was terrible. I mean, that's one thing in the Caribbean, you get your hurricanes. But I could all remember Janet coming home from school early, and you know the atmosphere just changed. It just seemed very, you know, quiet, as though the birds somewhere, and you know, yeah. And then the wind builds up, and when it comes, it comes.
So it happened in the daytime.
Yeah.
Into the night.
Mm-hmm.
So did you know of anyone that died?
I'm sure people died. I can't remember who died. I think somebody in Dover died. I can't remember now, but I think there was a death in Dover. Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah, different world, isn't it? Wow. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share about Carriacou?
About Carriacou?
Memories, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Carriacouans, they're just nice, simple people, you know. Nothing bad about people from Carriacou when I was growing up. Everybody spoke to each other. Everybody said hello. You know, everybody helped each other. Pick cotton, pick peas, you know, and it was really a close knit community. And even in the other places like Bogles, and you had friends there, and it's a kind of life where people just help each other, and they did the little thing, the Saracas and the whatnot and so on, and they just live their life, you know, until the immigration set in, and then the young people start coming here and so on, traveling 14 days in a ship, the SSS Kenya, or,
SSS Kenya.
Or the TV Venezuela.
Which one did you get on?
I think I came in Ascalia. We stopped at Madeira and Genoa.
So you went from Carriacou to
Grenada.
Grenada.
And there's a fellow from Carriacou who, oh, he really loved me. Did you know Linus, the driver? He was a driver. He was from Winwood. He wasn't very mulatto, but he was that type of people. And he drove a car. He used to, the children coming from school and playing, you know, ball games and in the road, because we just played in the road, you know. And he would stop his car coming from town with lots of cakes and whatnot taken to the shops in Winwood for sale. And he'll stop his car and empty his car with all the cakes and things, give all the children, maybe pay them for it. That's the kind of, and he was really in love with me.
Really?
He'll come from down and he'll have a string of fish, and he'll come, Teacher Nora, I brought you some fish, you know.
He's trying to seduce you with food.
And before, I mean, he told me he loved me, and he bought me a little radio when I was coming away. He followed me to Grenada,
wow.
and I had that radio here for years after.
Oh. Do you know what happened to him?
I know he died, but I wasn't ready for all that yet. But a very nice man. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for sharing your stories. It was brilliant.